You know, I asked myself something before Christmas break started. What am I most looking forward to since the holidays are coming? I mean, is it opening presents?
Cool. I told you got a lot taller.
The Christmas tree? Snow?
Thanks, but no thanks, Major Stupidity. You and General Nonsense over there will have to fight without me. Got them both.
Or is it making these videos reflecting on the best and worst movies of the year? I'm gonna have to go with all the above. But since I already did my top 10 worst list, there's only one thing to do. Welcome to Preview Review, everyone, and today I'm counting down my top 10 favorite movies of 2014. Obviously, just like on my top 10 worst list, there will be some movies on this list that you may or may not agree with. There are these magical things called different opinions, and that's what makes us human. So with that said, let's get started. Number 10. Coming in at number 10, I have The Equalizer. This movie showed me that an action film can still feel original and unique, even if it does have a huge amount of cliches. And as a movie, it has the best explosion I have seen in cinema in years, because it looks awesome. I love the cast in this movie. Denzel Washington is a badass for his role. He didn't even need a gun. Combine that with the well-choreographed fight scenes and the slow-motion photography that is literally in your face, and The Equalizer definitely deserves a place on my top 10 list. Number 9. I love musicals, so it should be no surprise that Jersey Boys makes it onto my list. Going into this movie, I didn't really know what to expect because I haven't seen the actual musical Jersey Boys. All I knew was that it was about the 4 seasons. But that's why I like it so much. It's about the formation of probably one of the most famous bands in the history of music, if you will. The cast is great. There are several Oscar-worthy performances throughout the movie. But it's not just that. It's the talent that the cast brings that makes this movie so good. They add the humor, they add the emotion, they add everything into this movie and put it together. There are some excellent musical numbers throughout the movie, and by the end credits, you will be singing along. Guaranteed. Number 8. One company that has continued to impress me is Marvel. Marvel has been doing some very good movies recently. I mean, a couple years ago they did The Avengers, which is to this day probably my favorite Marvel film. I know what you're thinking, Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Sorry, but no. Captain America: The Winter Soldier really surprised me. It was darker and more tense than any of the other Marvel films that I've ever seen. I liked how this movie built off its predecessor, making it a lot smarter and more detailed in its storytelling. It also had this espionage thriller side to it that gave it this political and social commentary edge, which I really liked about it because it felt like we could reflect on it and think about it after we left the theater. The action sequences were fantastic and were fueled by great special effects. And I'm really looking forward to The Avengers: Age of Ultron. Number 7. Coming in at number 7, I have The Judge. I really don't know why this movie got mixed reviews because it really stayed with me and it made me think about my family and the relationships that I have with all of them. The cast is excellent in this movie. Robert Duvall and Robert Downey Jr. have opposing chemistry, which really builds this movie. And essentially, this movie has a balance between humor, heart, and realism. And that's why I like it so much. Number 6. I don't know why, but I don't really find an interest in biography or autobiography movies. This one was a major exception. The Theory of Everything surprised me tremendously. The relationship that Eddie Raymond and Felicity Jones share is heartwarming to say the least. And I loved watching the story of Stephen Hawking. He has made so many contributions to science and influenced the way that we look at the world around us that to watch his life unfold is a privilege. Oh yeah, and Eddie Raymond deserves the Oscar for Best Actor. No questions asked. Number 5. I'm still trying to comprehend this movie because my mind was blown on multiple occasions. Interstellar to me is probably one of the best sci-fi films of the 21st century. I have not seen anything like Interstellar ever. Probably the closest thing that comes to it is 2001: Space Odyssey. And I think that this movie rivals it. Just saying. The special effects are beautiful and unique. They're unbelievable. They look real. And this movie deserves the Oscar for Best Special Effects. The acting is superb in this movie. To see Matthew McConaughey go through what he had to was just an emotional experience that will stay with me forever. And some of the concepts that this movie brings up just are beyond human comprehension. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, go see Interstellar. You're doing yourself a disservice if you haven't.